Is it recording?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Including yourself.
And yeah, including yourself. Okay. Howdy, my name is Rachel Wall, and I'm a supply chain management major from Plano, Texas. But more importantly, I'm the loudest and proudest member of the Fightin' Texas Aggie class of 2014. AAA, woo! I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas on December 4th, 1991, and although I graduated high school from Plano West Senior High, I did not move there until my junior year. Before moving to Plano, I lived in Necula, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes east of Atlanta. I lived there for about 5 years, and while I was there, I was very involved in that high school. I was on 3 different cheerleading teams, president of my class in student government, a member of National Honor Society, and a member of National English Honor Society. I was also an officer for our school's leadership team. Needless to say, I was pretty busy, but thankfully when I moved to Plano, that calmed down a little bit. At Plano West, I just focused my attention on cheerleading, National Honor Society, and student government. I had never stepped foot on a college campus before coming to Texas A&M University for my new student conference. I was amazed at just how big our campus really is. I also had no idea of our university's traditions. I basically just picked coming here because it was in-state tuition, and although that was my initial reason, I would never make another decision if given the chance. My freshman year at A&M, I was fortunate enough to join a FLOW, or Freshman Leadership Organization. The FLOW I was in is called Aggie Fish Club, or AFC for short. Throughout AFC, I met so many amazing people and some of my very best friends. AFC brought me up to date on all of A&M's traditions, and I really enjoyed going to all of the football games, Silver Tabs, and other events that the university puts on, like Big Event. Second semester of my freshman year at Texas A&M, I applied to work at the Student Recreation Center for the facility staff there. I was interested in the application process because it had various individual and group interviews, and I was very pleased when I got hired there as a receptionist. I then worked my way up to a cashier, and now I'm at the member services front desk. Working at the rec center is more than just a job to me. I really enjoy going to work and seeing all of my fellow coworkers and the patrons that use the rec facility. All of the professional staff that work for the rec center have always been so kind and understanding of the fact that we're first and foremost students. It really is one of the best jobs to have on campus because they're always accommodating of scheduling you around your class schedules. The second best job on campus would have to be as a resident advisor, which I also have been doing for about a year now. I really enjoy being an RA and mentoring the incoming freshmen and helping them with whatever they need throughout the year. Sometimes this can be and is a challenging task, as students are not used to being away from home or with having to deal with sharing their personal space with another individual. However, one way or another, they all figure it out. One of the most common misconceptions people have about being an RA is that we get to live on campus for free. However, that's not true. I definitely wish it was though. I have to pay rent just like everyone else, but we do receive a paycheck every 2 weeks, which is great. Also, for the past 2 summers, I've stayed in College Station and have been working for a UCA cheer camp in addition to working at the rec center. This summer, I also started working as a conference assistant for Texas A&M's new student conferences. I check guests into and out of the rooms. I basically just have to provide good customer service, and it's more or less like working for a hotel. So far, I really enjoy helping the students and their parents with whatever they want to know about Aggieland. I haven't yet mentioned that I moved out on my own when I was 18 and that I'm putting myself through college. This is the reason that I work so much. And although this has been a challenging task, I know when I finish and graduate, I'll be so much more appreciative and grateful. But because school is so expensive, I'm pushing myself to graduate a semester early in December 2013, and I can't wait for the day that I get my Aggie ring. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to the presentation analysis, and after there's going to be time for Q&A, and just so y'all know, I have to have at least 3 questions, so think about it. Okay, here we go. Sandra Collins woke up one day at 6 a.m. and went about her normal routine. It was a lovely morning in New York City. Sandra made breakfast for her kids before they rushed off to catch the bus for school. She gave her husband the morning paper and coffee before kissing him bye as he left for work. She also got ready for the day herself because she knew she'd be swamped at the office on a Tuesday morning. She had no idea that in a little under 3 hours, her life would change forever. It was 8:46 a.m. Eastern Time when the first airplane hit the North Tower of the World Trade Centers, and this is where Sandra's husband worked. And by the time the second plane hit the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., and Sandra could not get a hold of her husband, she knew that her life would never be the same. Unfortunately for Sandra, her husband never made it home from work that day, and unfortunately many men, women, and children share her similar story. The terrorist attacks on our nation that took place on September 11, 2001 changed the face of American history forever. And while our entire nation was in a state of shock and sadness, our president, George W. Bush, was prepared to address us all that evening. The words he spoke were profound and true. He told us that these acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. As I'm sure you can tell by my example of Sandra and her family's story, 9/11 was a hard day for many Americans. At the time that the terrorist attacks took place on American soil, President Bush had not been in office for even a year. And after how his election went and how he was voted in, this was his first major event to happen. The way that he was going to handle this major catastrophic event was his opportunity to set the tone for the rest of his presidency. He could have faltered, he could have not been strong for our country. However, I believe in one of our country's darkest hours, in time of need, he was there for all Americans. Bush was born in New Haven, Connecticut, while his father was attending Yale University after service in World War II. His family moved to Midland, Texas, where Bush Sr. entered the oil exploration business. His son spent formative years there and attended Midland Public Schools. Bush then also graduated from Yale and received a business degree from Harvard, and then returned to Midland, where he also got into the oil business. In Midland, he met and married Laura Welch, a teacher and librarian. They then had 2 daughters together, Jenna and Barbara, who are now out of college and on their own pursuing their own careers. At the age of 54, George W. Bush became the 43rd President of the United States, and it was only the second time in American history that a president's son also went on to the White House. During the early part of his 2000 campaign for the White House, Bush enjoyed a double-digit lead in the polls over his opponent, Al Gore. But the gap closed as the election approached, and Gore finally won the popular vote. However, victory or loss of the presidency depended on Florida's electoral college votes. That struggle, through recounts and lawsuits, worked its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And in the end, Bush won the electoral count and went on to win the presidency as well. As shown in his background, by not winning the popular vote against Gore, the events on September 11th were his chance to win back the hearts of many American citizens. The people of our nation needed a leader, and someone whose words who could make them make sense of the terrible things that had happened that day. He told us, "A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America." I think this statement in his speech helped bring some form of calm to people throughout all the chaos. He also went on to discuss how he implemented our government's emergency response team and how our military forces were powerful. He also noted that terrorists wanted to try and hurt our economy, and even though these tragic events happened, business would be open for the following day. President Bush's address to the nation encouraged us not to let these attacks shake our hope or our freedom. If anything, he encouraged us to come together as a nation and unite against people that were willing and able to hurt others. This is how his speech promoted the betterment of our nation. After the 9/11 attacks, there were so many people that did not have or know loved ones that were in those buildings. However, they were willing to do anything they could to help. We had so many volunteer firefighters and police. We had people running to donate blood, and people who were just gathering around and praying for others. Although these attacks shook our nation, we did not falter, and if anything, we became a stronger and more united front against terror. September 11th, 2001 was a day unlike any other in American history. Americans were attacked on their own soil, planes went crashing into buildings, and the very foundation of our country was in question. However, we had a leader to look to for answers. President George W. Bush delivered a speech to the nation that evening, and he let us all know that this is a day when all Americans, from every walk of life, unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. And now it's time for questions and answers. Let's go. Who has a question? Question.
Where were you on September 11th when the planes hit?
I was in 4th grade. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, so yeah, I was at school when it happened. Anyone else? Noah? No.
About your life or about your speech?
It has to be about the last speech.
How were you felt when you were told about the events that occurred?
Well, I was really young, so I didn't really understand what was going on, and they never explained anything to us at school. So whenever I went home, my parents told me what was going on. I was watching the news. I literally just started crying because I didn't understand. I just thought it was really bad.
Do you think it was the right idea to go to war over those events?
Do I think it was the right idea?